future does not belong to globalists. The future belongs to patriots. But the world is more sophisticated and prepared to march towards a world government. Instead of you making all decisions, you have some person in Europe making your decision on what you're going to eat, whether you're going to shoot guns or not, whether you're going to hunt or not, whether you're going to drive or not, where you're going to live. Maybe they're going to put you in a 15-minute city now. Restoring men and history. And imagine you're at your house tomorrow and you've got a visitor at your house from Europe and she's staying with you. You don't know her very well. One of your neighbors asked her if she could stay there. So you don't even know this lady well. She's from Germany. Her name is Gertrude. She's staying with you at the house and she starts going through your cupboards one day and throwing away things in the trash. And you say, "Hey, what are you doing?" She goes, "Oh, I took these out of the refrigerator. You had steaks in here. Steaks are bad for the environment and they're bad for the climate." And you go, wait, you're a visitor. You put the steaks. I'm going to put the steaks back in the refrigerator. We're going to eat meat and steaks here. She goes, "Well, you really need to be eating insects. That's better for the environment. And what we really need to think about is the environment. Also, I noticed one of your boys might actually be a girl." "What?" "Okay." And she says, "I noticed you have a Bible and that's kind of a bad book." So anyway, this lady starts telling you what to do in your own home, and she's from Europe. You live in America. You live in the United States of America. You live in the state of Tennessee. You're accustomed to having freedom. Now you have this lady telling you what to do, and she says, "By the way, you have guns. That's very dangerous. Bad. She says, "Also, I noticed you have a V8 car and you need to be driving an electric or riding a bicycle. Best to ride a bicycle. If you have to have a car, do electric. It's better for the environment." So anyway, this lady's telling you all these things to do, and she's just a visitor from Europe. 5 years later, she comes back in your house, not as a visitor, but there's a knock at the door. She has a pad, an electronic device, and she says, "Now you have to throw out all your steaks, you have to eat bugs, you have to do what I tell you. I've gone to work for the world government, and you're under their authority." If you think it's important to build better, stronger men, please subscribe. We would appreciate it. Now you have no choice, and I'm in charge. Now, you wouldn't let a visitor come in and tell you what to do from Europe. So what we're looking at today, and why do we men need to care about this? Why is this for men? It's important that you men know what's going on in the world, know what's going on with globalism, know what's going on within your country to be able to protect and defend peacefully the Constitution. Peacefully, voicing, using the First Amendment. What's under attack? Do you know what is under attack? American sovereignty is important to your family, to your life, liberty, and property. Freedom is important, right? The lady in the story comes in. She starts telling you got to get rid of your V8 engine. You like V8 engines. You don't want an electric car. You want freedom of choice. She tells you to get rid of your Bible. She wants you to be a part of the New World religion, which basically is totalitarian and means nothing and is nonsense. So instead of having freedom of choice in religion, you now are told you have to have the leftist globalist religion and throw away your Bible. That's a banned book. I got to get rid of your guns because we need to be able to do what we want to you when we want to, and we don't want to be shot back at because we are full on tyranny now. They've thrown away the Constitution. So you don't want that to happen. And any faction that's trying to undermine or damage this wonderful, magnificent Constitution that the Founding Fathers wrote, we need to know about because we know many of the Founding Fathers were outstanding men that need to be revered. They've done a lot for you, and it's important to know our history. Your ability to create and build as men and build great businesses would be affected by a world government, by a one world government. by the globalists. They can damage it in myriad ways. Laws affect that. A one world government would affect that. So we're going to look today. Americans fought for freedom, right? Under much smaller restrictions when they got upset back in 1765 and 1775. You have a constitution, so we don't need to be under any international body, right? Under the UN or following the UN, and maybe we'll get into the UN today. We have the most magnificent constitution. Let's keep it. Declaration of Independence talks about life, liberty, property, so it's important. And let's go to this gentleman's article. Harbinger's Daily, World News, Biblically Understood. He writes this, Leo Holman, 8 Tenets of Globalism. Now, we can look at globalism constitutionally, which is bad for us because we have the most magnificent constitution. We can look at it economically. Is it good for your economics? No, it's not. It's not good for your life, liberty, and property. And this was written October 14th, 2020. Every one of them is on the ballot, so we won't get into the election because that's over. But 8 Tenets of Globalism. The term New World Order, he goes over, has become ubiquitous among elitist members. You can see it in the videos in different places of the political class. But what would a newly ordered, totally transformed society as proposed by Biden and Harris look like? Well, he's talking about them. In an April 5th, 2013 speech to the Export-Import Bank, Biden provided a hint of this in his call for creation of a new world order. He was vice president. He and his boss, Obama, were steering the ship in that direction at breakneck speed until Hillary Clinton, who was supposed to finish the deal, was rejected by you, the American voter. They opted for Donald Trump instead. So this is his article. And Trump, of course, talked about in that the United Nations General Assembly and surprised them all. And I know Jack will like this. Stated that, quote, the future does not belong to globalists. The future belongs to patriots. There you go, Jack Marino. I know you'll like that. He argued strongly for America, as well as John Wilson. He argued strongly for America first, national sovereignty, something anathema to billionaire globalists who bet long ago on the successful transition to a new one world order. And there's a clip here. What's the clip say? The affirmative task, this is Biden to the bankers. The affirmative task we have now is, and he has a lot of us, let's take those out, is let's take those us out, to actually create a new world order because the global order is changing again. And the institutions and the rules that worked so well in the post-World War II era for decades, they need to be strengthened and some need to be changed. So we have to lead. We have to update the rules of the road. Doesn't sound good, does it? And we have to do it in a way that maximizes benefits. And here's the key for you American people, for everyone. For everyone. Everyone in the whole world? Wait, he's the Vice President of the United States. He's here to protect your life, liberty, property, right? The Declaration of Independence talks about life, liberty, and what? The pursuit of happiness. So our leaders are supposed to protect you and what? Serve you. And that's what they've got to get to change. They're not here to serve the world. They're here to serve you. They're not here to go to the world war for the world. They're here to serve you and protect you from someone invading you, not just start a wild war like the neocons usually want to do. And maybe we'll get into the neocons sometimes and the military industrial complex, but let's stay with this and we need to come back to that. So he goes on to say, and this is him now, we're back to him, politicians don't make comments like this for the benefit of the American workers or their constituents. Of course not. Quote, you mean, Mr. Biden, you are more concerned about making sure China and Mongolia prosper than American workers? So we need to finish that quote. We update the rules of the world and we do it in a way that maximizes for everyone because it's overwhelmingly in our interest that China prosper, that Mongolia prosper. We have to, and this is the key quote, level the playing field. What does level the playing field sound like? It sounds like equity, right? Equity of the world. That's on the UN. Maybe we'll get to that. UN, what they have, 17 sustainability economic things. They talk about equity, no poverty. But who's going to pay for that? You are. Government was created to what? Why? What's the purpose of government in the United States of America? To protect your life, liberty, property. to protect it, not take it. All right. No, they don't make these type of statements for one reason and one reason only, to virtue signal to other wealthy drivers of the New World Order. So that lady in our story, she's a New World Order person, right? Hoping to convince these power brokers that they will be good little globalist prostitutes, willing to be used in any way deemed necessary to bring about the planned global governance, which in no way benefits whom? You. Benefits workers, middle-class people. In fact, climate change and these imperatives from the UN, and maybe we'll get to the UN, he's not talking about it here, but they will impoverish the middle class, and they will also take away your choices. If you want to drive a V8 gasoline engine with the noise and the sound, which I like the noise of my V8, you want to hear the engine, right? You don't want a quiet electric car or a fake noise. You want to hear it. That's taking away your choice, and it's also bad for you. And we could get into this whole electric car mess, the problems with it. But such comments rarely show up in the mainstream media, who play along with the game and cover up statements from the globalist politicians. To the media elites, there's no such thing as the New World Order, just like there's no such thing as Antifa. It's just an idea, he says. David Rockefeller, the globalist banker who co-founded the Trilateral Commission in '73, had this to say about mainstream media. We are grateful to the Washington Post, the New York Times, Time Magazine, and other great publications whose directors have attended our meetings and respected their promises of discretion for almost 40 years. It would have been impossible for us to develop our plan for the world. And if you go back to the Rockefeller Foundation, I was reading it to the groups in 2020, April, I think, 2020, the Rockefeller Foundation plan, which was basically your COVID plan. I think it was written in 2010 too. But the world is more sophisticated and prepared to march towards a world government. They say their plans, they mean it. When they write these comments, there's a faction that really wants this. That wants to take away your freedom. That wants to take away your unalienable rights. The super national sovereignty is of an intellectual elite and world bankers go back through history, right? If you look about it, is surely preferable to the national auto-determination practiced in past centuries. So what's he saying there? We don't need nationalism anymore. We're going to run it from here. So the lady coming in your house, here's the point of that story. Instead of you making all the decisions, you have some person in Europe making your decision on what you're going to eat, whether you're going to shoot guns or not, whether you're going to hunt or not, whether you're going to drive or not, where you're going to live. Maybe they're going to put you in a 15-minute city now. So because here's the way it goes. Push you first to electric cars. The system and grid can't handle it. Then they say, well, you don't really need a car. Just live within 15 minutes of where you walk. That's a faction that wants that too. There is a faction that states they want that. That's true. And wants you to eat insects. You got to listen to the people when they say it. This faction means it. When it comes to the New World Order, every journalist, quote, he has that in quotation marks, in the mainstream suddenly cannot muster enough curiosity to ask a single question. And if you look at narratives across of what we've been through the last years, the questions are not many, right? There's not much investigation into an experimental drug or an experimental jab from the media. This super narratives are very powerful, controlling that what is let out to you, the information that you're allowed to receive, and the controlled information. How much will it tell? How much will it cost? Will it square with the U.S. Constitution? Will it square with American laws or values, he says, on the New World Order? And of course it won't. Can't have a New World government and a U.S. Constitution. You would be under them. Like the EU over England, they broke away, right? We would appreciate it if you would subscribe and help us build better, stronger men.